Good evening and welcome to the Neighborhood Advisory Committee meeting July 24th, 2023 from 6 to 7:30, and we are in person on the first floor of the North Conference Room, City Hall, or you can stream live on the city's YouTube channel. Public comments via email, we can get that. There's a number 855-925-2801 with the meeting code of 9247. Or you email Neighborhood Advisory Committee and Public Input. My name is Bobette Mays, and I am the chair, and I represent 28803 and 28704. So I would like for the committee members to introduce themselves. We'll start with.
Good evening. Jake Smith, 28801 at large.
Hi, I'm Elise Martyr. I'm an at-large member residing in 28806.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Likas. I'm an at-large member, and I reside in 28803.
Hello, my name is Sandra Frimpong. I represent 28805.
I'm Dane Berger, and I guess I represent 28801, but I'm not exactly sure about that. Is there, is that a designation that we represent a particular?
It's who you're, in the area that you live in usually.
Well, I live
280, what's your area?
28801.
Is it 2804 would encompass what?
So technically, you've been appointed to serve as an at-large member.
At large.
At large?
Yes.
Okay. So you don't have to worry about where you go.
Okay.
Okay, we'll work that way. And?
Sorry about that. My name's Joe Taylor, and I'm from 28804 Beaver Dam.
All right, well, welcome to our new members. This is your first night here, and we're glad that you all are here. And we have Dawa. You can introduce yourself?
Thank you, Dawa Hitch, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Communication and Public Engagement Director for the City of Asheville, and our department supports the Neighborhood Advisory Committee.
And I'm Meredith Friedheim. I am the Neighborhood Services Specialist.
And I'm Christina Israel. I'm the Community Engagement Manager, serve with Dawa and Meredith on our Communication and Public Engagement team. And for folks who are new with us this evening, just remember that we're streaming live to YouTube. Folks are also listening on the phone, so side conversations are not great for audio, for people to be able to hear what you're saying and just to speak directly into your microphone.
Thank you. Has everyone had a chance to look at the draft minutes from May the 25th and June the 26th? And that's because one meeting we didn't have enough people here. We didn't have a quorum.
I believe last month we didn't get to approve the meeting minutes.
Right, so we're gonna do both of them right now. If you had an opportunity to look over the draft, can I get a motion to accept the approval of
Second.
the draft minutes? You approve it?
Yes.
I need a second.
I second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
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 There's no opposed, we'll keep going. Maury, hi, how are you? Okay, do we have any, let's review the agenda for today. Is there anything that's maybe not on the agenda or you need to add something to it? Have you had a chance to look at it? Because we'll just go straight down the agenda. Do we have any public comments from pre-meeting voicemails, emails, or in-person comments?
We did not receive any public comments for tonight.
All right. We'll move on to staff activities and updates. Dawn.
Okay, good afternoon or evening, committee members. Ahead of your upcoming retreat, where you'll be looking at what you're deciding as a team, what your priorities are going to be for the upcoming year, An important thing to keep in mind, this is really the work that drives the work that you all do, in addition to your information sharing and gathering roles that you all play as part of this committee. Tonight I've got the council priorities for fiscal year 23-24. And if we're thinking about the process for that, we want to make sure that the work of the committee is aligned with council's strategic priorities, as you all are a body that serves to advise them. And just wanted to take a minute to make sure that you all had seen these. There will be more information coming out, something that certainly looks a little bit prettier than this, so you guys are getting a little preview ahead of some other folks. But you can see that if you're familiar with their priorities from previous years, that they have kept many of the same. There's been some minor wording changes just to really hyper-focus in some certain areas. So you might see, as an example, that neighborhood and climate resilience is a priority for this year. And what's different this year is that council took some time to really come up with some goal statements. So while there are these broad categories, they took time this year to be more specific about the goals that they are aiming to work towards. So that's both through their advisory committees as well as city staff. So wanted you all to know that city staff has gone through the annual work plan development process. We've got projects at the organizational level, projects that are at the departmental level, and we're tracking how those move forward the priorities that council has established each year. So there's a lot of exciting things coming down the line in that area. Look forward to showing you some more accessible things that we have that will be posted to the website so our entire community can track the progress on those activities. So I think it was maybe 2 years ago now, council added this improve and expand core services area, and that was certainly in response to things that we've heard from communities about things that are really important to communities, that it was perceived or felt that some of those things were getting overlooked as we really focused attention on these big, challenging things that our community and communities across the country are facing. For example, homelessness, affordable housing, reimagining public safety. So that first one, improve and expand core services, was added and has given everybody the opportunity to think broadly about just what that means. I know from this group, over the years, we've heard things about streets are important, sidewalks are important, trash collection is important, right? That those maybe aren't as sparkly as some of the other things, but they're certainly the foundation of what having a high quality of life is. So those things, in addition to things like reparations, reimagining public safety, homelessness strategies, equitable and affordable housing and the stability of that housing, and then neighborhood and climate resilience. So you all have this now. It'll be made available as you take your next steps and you're working through your annual planning retreat. Also, I just wanted to share and remind that our council committees are also working on their work plans for the year. And the idea there is that they will have these higher level strategies in mind as they are being intentional about things that they need information on, things that they need advice on. So that will also be an opportunity for the Neighborhood Advisory Committee to align their work with the committee works, because with the committee's work, council's committee work. And as you're contemplating policy advice, there will be a council committee for you to give that advice to. Again, that comes from feedback that we heard from boards and commissions, and that there have been times where boards and commissions felt like they weren't quite sure about the direction they should be taking or why the recommendations that they've moved forward or the advice that they've moved forward hasn't been prioritized. So the idea is to align all of these things so that everybody can see how the hard work that you all are doing as volunteers is being integrated into the work that the community is doing. Now, so this next part is a quiz. I'm just kidding. Who can remember what was on that list? I did. So that was a little preview. You know, we all know it takes a number of times to just really absorb information. So there's no real action to take with that tonight, but did just want to get that in front of you all so you could see high level what those priorities are. And we'll stay in communication with you when all of that information has been uploaded to the website so that you can then be great ambassadors as you're doing work in your communities and making sure that folks know where those priorities are and they can access them on the website. And does anybody have any questions about those priorities or the goal statements?
So how much will we be involved in the reparations process? Who would we give recommendations to if we collaborate together and we have ideas that need to go to reparations? How do we do that? Will we give it to you?
You certainly can. It seems to me that we would want to make sure that we get I feel like it's another one of those with an example of how this committee is working with the Multimodal Transportation Committee. We've got folks that serve on both. I just happen to know we have folks that serve on both of those commissions sitting at this dais. But that inter-commission or inter-committee communication, I think, is really important. And then we can certainly memorialize that if we need to upload it through documents or something, or have it caught in the minutes, just so that there's a record of that. And then I would imagine as reparations moves up to the council subcommittee, the council committee that they work with, they would recognize that NAC had provided some input into the reparations process.
Anybody else have any other questions?
No? Okay.
I guess in that list,
Yeah, we lost the list.
We did lose do I need to just like,
It took a nap.
please check video. Oh, here we go. Well, at least,
yes.
thank you.
I was just, the very last bullet just mentions neighborhood. I was trying to sort of determine where NAC fits into some of those priorities. It says neighborhood and climate resilience, and then the sentence actually seems to apply to climate and sustainability. So I'm not sure if there's more to that, if there's a direct link to what we're doing and how we can help city council meet those goals. Is there an extended document that has more about that?
No, there's not, and that's because it's a goal statement, and they wanted to keep it pretty big. And certainly, we are happy to provide any insight that we might have, because I would say, without question, the Festival of Neighborhoods is directly related to neighborhood and climate resilience. And so just the fact that we're building bonds, that you all are building bonds, you all are making sure that people have access to information, that builds resilience in a community. And if we experience climate impacts, that cohesion in your community does create a safer environment for all. So we can help talk through any of those, and then the retreat's another great place to have those conversations, but we as staff are happy to help make any of those connections with the work that you all are doing. You're welcome. All right.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that the new people that are here, will we be able to, can you send this to each one of us? Send that to us?
I can't, if you all wouldn't mind waiting, I know the document is getting ready, the graphic that's going to be posted everywhere. The work is happening on that right now, so can I share that with you when that official
Okay.
document's
That's fine.
done?
That's fine.
I think
I'll just we'll keep it in
that
the
might
back
keep me out of trouble.
Yeah, I don't want you in trouble. No, never. I think it's great. for the new people that may not know the clarity of what we do, you're at large, so that means you have the ability that wherever you want to go to community engagement meetings, or if it's somebody in your neighborhood, what we do is we want to find out what the neighbors in our neighborhoods want. If it's something that needs to come, because all we do is make recommendations. And if they're sound recommendations, they get reviewed and they make it to city council. So that's why we have a retreat. And that's why we turn in information once a year about what we do. So I want to make sure that you all kind of know that this is what we do. So I encourage you, we have work groups. And if you'd like to be a part of the work groups, you'll hear them talk. Then we encourage that you get into one of those groups, okay? All right. Our new business, update on the Candace Pickett's Memorial Park. Mr. David Rogers, as you come on up, I would like you to know that I did not get to see her son, but I know he was here for 2 weeks. Candace Pickett's son. And he's doing well.
I'm going to let Mike Lewis start for just a second.
Okay.
He's our PR guy, and I will follow up. So you guys will be able to see this. Pass some flyers around to you. Pass them around everybody.
Are we still alive?
Excuse the oil, I have a new knee. You're going to let me take the spear first, huh? I'm Mike Lewis, and I'm working with public relations and public media on this project. I don't know if you know the background of it. In 1999, a joint project between the city schools, and Quality Forward, which is now Asheville Greenworks, built this park. And Susan Roderick was the executive director of Quality Forward at the time, and I was active in Quality Forward, and I got snared and went over there and worked for a couple of days, took my toolbox and went to work. And the playground lasted 20 years. My grandsons would come from Raleigh and say, "Hey, Papa, can we go to the park?" I found something on Facebook the other day, a couple, and said that they made a positive effort to stop in Asheville at the park so their kids could get out of the car and play and get rid of some energy when they were on trips. So the park was not maintained, and it was condemned in 2021 in August and bulldozed the following month. My neighbor, David Rogers, said, "You know, I moved to this side of the Merriman Avenue so my kids would have a place to play." And his kids are a little bit beyond that, but he said, "You know, we need to restore this park." And that's what he's been working on for the last 2 years. We've got virtually all the funds, and the funds have come from donations, with the exception of $5,000 that went to fund a handicap parking spot. We're soliciting volunteers and a little bit more money. We start work on the 4th of October. We spent the day today meeting with the contractor Leathers Company, who specialize in building playgrounds. This playground will be made mostly from synthetic material, which hopefully will last more than 20 years. I guess the bottom line would be, I would like to infect you with a passion that I feel for this. This is a community project. Kids from all over Asheville came and played in that park. They may not have lived there, but I'd look out the front door my house occasionally, and I live up the street from Grace Covenant Presbyterian Church, and here'd come a rainbow line of kids up the street, headed for the park, and about an hour later, you'd see them coming back. Kids from other centers were bussed out there. There probably wasn't a day that went by when the weather was decent that you could drive by that park and wouldn't find kids playing in it, probably parents sitting on the benches talking. We got some good media coverage today. WLOS did a segment this morning. They did another segment at noon, and probably doing one right now. So I would hope that you would tell your friends, make copies of these flyers, and if you don't have a copier, we have plenty of flyers. Make sure they get distributed to your friends and colleagues and at businesses, your houses of worship. Make sure that people know about this, because the key at this point is volunteers. And we need people from, excuse me, from all skill levels. Some people may be hauling ground cover in wheelbarrows, and I don't know if my knee will let me by then do much more than stand and put screws in the posts. But we need help, and we hope that you would take this back to your zip codes, your various neighborhoods, and let's see people sign up. Rebuildsjonespark.org, that's us. It's been renamed for Candace Pickens, the young woman who was murdered there in 1997, I believe. And we hope to serve the entire community. And the beauty of this is that we, as a community, are coming together to do this project. And you don't see that much solidarity anymore in our communities. So if you got any questions, I'll be glad to muddle through. Or David will be glad to. There's David. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm playing hide and seek from you there.
Okay.
Sorry. Thanks, Mike. So he gave you a pretty good background on this. Initially, when I started trying to rebuild the playground, it was just building a playground. But it has turned into building community. I am meeting people that I never would have met through this process, and I plan to have relationships across the city for the rest of my life that are being developed through this. We're building community. Jenny Pickens is our art and special features coordinator. That's Candace's aunt. She's a very talented artist in this community. She was on site today talking with the Playgrounds by Leathers representative of how she can incorporate art into this playground that was important to Candace. We'll be putting doves physically into the playground, which were tattooed into Candace. She had a nice dove tattoos. So we're putting those symbols in there. We're putting colors that were important to Candace into the playground. And that's what I'm saying. We're literally building community now. It's not just a playground. We're building something in honor of Candace Pickens' life. And I'm working with her mother. Her mother was on site today, and it's meaningful. It's not just a playground. And I hope that you can take this to your communities and help build this in honor of her. It is like an old-fashioned barn raising, where we're literally coming together. We're going to be working side by side for 5 days from sun up to sundown. It's a meaningful project. We've got lots of flyers. I have tons here. If you can take some flyers and put them in your communities, I'm happy to come out and speak to any of your communities. If you'd like to have us talk, Mike will talk. I've got a dozen people working every week now on this project. It's going, so it's a labor of love at this point. My wife is going to be very happy when it's over because literally I've been working since 8:30 this morning. I'm going to go home, see my wife for a little bit. I have another meeting tomorrow morning at 8:30. I've been working on this every week since August of 2021 to get this playground rebuilt. And with the renaming of the park, it's a lot more than just a park. So it's in Candace Pickens' memory that we're building this. Thank you. And if you'd like any more flyers, I'd be happy to give you
What I
some.
would say is, yes, I would, because I would
Yeah,
take
me
some,
too.
I would take some to,
I think we were all being nice and making sure everybody had one. I didn't realize you had a whole
I
lot.
would take these because,
If someone wants to volunteer, do they have to contact or just show up? Oh, sign up to help it, okay.
It's called rebuildjonespark.org because that's what everybody's known it as. But as soon as you get to the webpage, you see it's dedicated to life of Candace Pickens. It's just for 20 years we've all called it Jones Park. Once they get there, they know we're building it for Candace. And if you want to reach me, my email address would just be david@rebuildjonespark.org. At the bottom, some of our volunteer coordinators.
And the phone number on the flyer is?
That's Bob's phone number.
Okay.
If you want mine, I'm happy to give you mine. Mine's on our website too. It's on our website.
I have grabbed several, but thank you.
And I'm always available, text, email, call me, and get back to you. I'd be thrilled to come give you guys a presentation at any of your neighborhood organizations. Thank you for your time.
I really appreciate this because, to me, it's, I know the family of Candace Pickens, and I will try to reach out to some of the family members that I know of hers that you might miss.
I appreciate
Because I
that.
think that you would get more diversity with people knowing that you're doing this project, and you may get more help. So what I would do is, in Shiloh, we have a garden, and we could probably also, we have connections with some charter schools, and that come and do community service.
Yes, ma'am.
And Carolina Day, Asheville School's been there. Maybe be able to get some youth to come out and help on that day.
That'd be
Since we're
great.
gonna, you know, so I want to take these, and then I'll take some to United Way, because it's just very important. It's very important, and I appreciate the fact that you've taken the time. You've done a lot of work. You've done a lot of work.
Well, I try to stay in the background now. We have a dozen people working every week on this now. Mike has been helping me since before it was destroyed, and I appreciate the renaming and the significance of what we're doing now.
All right. Well,
Thank you.
We appreciate you coming. We're gonna go on.
All right,
and
thank
If
you
you'd
all.
like to, you can stay, or you can.
I would normally stay, but my wife would like me to come home.
I would like you to make your wife happy. Thank you.
Thank you.
My wife's holding dinner.
Yeah, I understand. But thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Next, vote to elect an interim vice chair. Do we have any nominations on the floor? I have one.
To clarify, this is interim until our annual meeting in August or
It's gonna be in
September.
September. We're gonna hope that, let's put it like this. Let's hope that when we meet in September, that we will keep the officers that we have to next year. Okay? Because you don't want her to be interim, and then you turn around and then you elect some more. I think out of fairness, for that, because I'll be coming off next year. And so, Elizabeth has an interest in being the vice chair and interim. I have no problem with that. So I will nominate Elizabeth. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any questions or concerns? All in favor? Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any nays? Well, you got it, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Next is to vote to hold the annual retreat meeting in September, and we did that because we had so many people that came off and some new people that come on, and we wanted them to get a chance to be able to see what's going on and not just be in the dark by having a meeting and having our annual retreat in August. So can I get someone to give me a motion so we can vote on having the retreat in September, or is there any questions before we go there?
You had mentioned earlier, so this is a planning retreat?
Yes,
It's more
that's
than
what we're-
just getting to know each other,
Yes,
so
a
we'll be.
planning retreat,
Okay.
yes. It'll be the regular time at the NAC meeting in September, right? Is that what we said?
That's really you all's decision, but I believe it's, you were looking at the bylaws and having that discussion. The discussion was to have it at a regularly scheduled
Yeah.
meeting, except, and the difference would be that there wouldn't be the normal unfinished business, new business, but the entire meeting would be focused on coming up with what that work plan is and understanding what the committees, city council committees' work plans are.
I move to hold our annual retreat meeting in September.
Can I get a second? Okay, second by Sandra. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, we'll have our annual retreat meeting in September. But I did want to say this. I know that, I don't know who's on how you're gonna do the bylaws, but it's really, the bylaws need to, with, electing officers should be coincided with whenever people are going off or coming on. I say that because, in all fairness, if we elected officers in September, she's just gotten here, and, you know, I wouldn't want to put the pressure on her. And I'm still here, and I'll be here till next year, so we'll work on that later.
I've actually been on for 2 years.
So you got another year, but you can do,
Yeah.
I'm on number 6.
Okay.
You good. Can I have the updates from the Festival of Neighborhoods?
Yeah, I'll give a brief overview, and then if people want to provide updates on their work areas, we had our first meeting with community members on Wednesday the 19th. We had 8 people in attendance, and we started divvying up areas for, rather than doing an application, Moira has been working on a link for an interest form, because we want to make sure of the 30 spots we have that we prioritize neighborhoods, neighborhood associations, and get the word out to everyone to be able to express interest. And then because we have, what did we say, 10 or 12 city sort of departments, then we will all come back together at our next meeting on August 2nd, look at all the people that have submitted, and if there are more than 30, maybe find areas where we can, people can consolidate, people in similar neighborhoods can come together. Maybe if we need a couple of city departments to share a table or tent. Working on a flyer, getting more involvement from the people that we initially sent out the email to, from the 80 or so neighborhoods that we have contact information for. And also, Meredith, did you set up the Festival of Neighborhoods email? Myra did that.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about any of those things that you're doing?
Yeah, whenever you're all done with your summary, I won't interrupt you.
Yeah, so the only other things, just sort of more broadly, is our next steps are to, and our goals are to get all the interest forms back in before our meeting on August 2nd. Make sure that we have a balance of areas around the city, so they're not, you know, all the tables aren't from 28804, something like that. And also get some flyers out that everyone can have and disseminate across the city. Get a little bit more involvement. Of the 4 people that we had show up, 3 of them have sort of joined forces. One is going to work on food and I guess and entertainment with Jake. I don't know that we had one yet join you. It was the
Yeah, I think Victoria said that she was interested in kind of working with me. She's focusing specifically on a lot of the West Asheville neighborhoods. She was also interested once, we had like the event site up, so we'll probably create an event on Facebook. Meredith and I will work on that, and then once the flyers have been approved, then she'll work on trying to get them out as well.
Okay. And then at that point, we will spend the month of August sort of finalizing who's going to be there, where they're going to be, getting confirmations from everyone. And if I know that there have been people in contact with Christina or Meredith at neighborhood meetings saying, we want to be involved. And so we're getting ready to launch the interest form to all these neighborhood contacts to say, if you want to be involved, give us a rundown of what you think you might be doing to make sure it is applicable, useful, adds value to the festival, meets its goals and objectives. Anything else you want to add or updates?
Yeah, I just wanted to expound on, so there is a specific email address just for the festival. It's just festivalofneighborhoods@gmail.com. So if you guys run across anybody who has any questions or has any interest in all, you could just give them that email address. And we all have access to that, so anybody can check and see who's responded. I couldn't get the flyer out, though we could print it out before the meeting. I don't know if you guys can see it, but you do have kind of a mock-up of it on my computer. I'm happy to pass my laptop around if you guys want to see it too.
So how many neighborhoods have responded to you so far?
We are getting ready to send it out. We haven't sent it out yet. We just had our meeting on Wednesday and got the people involved for the first time, so.
Well, we had about
Got
six.
some people that have responded, have
Yeah, they, are you talking about just in general with
Yeah.
housing or? Yes, yeah, so
Communities in
there's been
general.
about half a dozen different neighborhoods, I would say, that have responded, that are interested in getting involved in some capacity, whether it's having a booth or helping with the planning. This sign-up form is technically live right now. That email did go out this afternoon, but we can just follow up.
It went out to all the contacts?
Just the neighborhood contacts to start,
Okay.
which is like the main ones, but I know that we had different email addresses that weren't necessarily the points of contact. So those, I feel like that would be a more personalized email as opposed to the generic email that was sent out. We gave them a tentative deadline of July 31st. Obviously, no one is beholden to that deadline because we can extend it if we want to. So we think maybe we'll evaluate kind of how many signups we've had, probably midweek, and then we could probably reach out individually to certain neighborhoods, especially the ones that show interest, and then also the ones from the area of the city that we're not hearing a lot back from. Because I think, Elizabeth, you said the majority of them are kind of the north central part of the city, and we're trying to get more, participation from the other areas of the city. So, other than that, I think I can definitely get up a volunteer sign-up form up this week, but it just depends on when we actually want to push that, because I don't necessarily want that to interfere with getting people to actually sign up for the booths. But
What did you say the deadline is?
the 31st for this form, but it's
Of July.
kind of a soft deadline. So our meeting is the 2nd, so that way our goal was to kind of have enough people that submitted wanting to have a booth or attend at the event, so that when we meet on August 2nd, we can evaluate the submissions and figure out, okay, we don't have enough, or we have too many, or this is a good amount, and then kind of decide how to go from there.
We want to make sure that the communications are streamlined because we know, like initially when we sent out the email saying, here's the date, we'll get in touch with you later about it, your interest and intent, but if you want to be involved in the planning, people contacted me and we set this meeting. But if anybody that has, and I know some neighborhoods have contacted city staff saying we want to be involved as well, hopefully with this festivalofneighborhoods@gmail.com, anyone that will be able to streamline that and know exactly who wants to volunteer, who's done the interest form, so that we have all that information. And like Moira said, we'll take a look at that at the meeting on August 2nd. It's Wednesday, August 2nd from 11 to 12:30, and we think it's going to be at the Grant Center, right, where they have the new
It's beautiful.
ribbon cutting,
It's
big.
beautiful. That'll be
yeah.
August the 4th when they have
Is
that.
that the 4th?
Mhm.
Yeah, the ribbon cutting is. So our
Yeah.
meeting is going to be the 2nd. So we're hoping to get even more people to come to that meeting. If you know of anybody or you have a neighborhood meeting coming up and you want to talk about that, we'll get the flyers out as soon as we can. Tell them to go to that, to go to their neighborhood contact who got the email about the interest form, so we can put all that in one place and then be able to, as a work group, review that.
Yeah, because I think that was a form, just a basic form that went out about participation. And for some reason, it didn't get out to Shiloh from, I don't know, who was your contact information from Shiloh?
I can check right now.
Yeah. Because I'm gonna tell you.
I think it was Norma, and I just had to
You're gonna have
resend
to-
it to her.
I
Yeah.
think you're gonna have to send it to Miss Sophie Dixon also. She's the president, even though, let's see if I can find it. Miss Banks is the liaison, but usually when things, Miss Sophie is good about sending me, things, because when I went, the last time I talked to them, Miss Sophie did not know about that form. So we gotta cover all bases, because you have to remember, some of these neighborhoods are older neighborhoods. So the people in the neighborhoods, they're not technically savvy. Some things happen, but I'll get you,
Well, the interest form just went out today. The initial email, hey, this is gonna be happening, save the date. We just used the contact list that the city had. And so we've since found out that a lot of those contacts were either to a former person in that position,
Right.
or they passed it on. I got a lot of email response saying, I will give it to so-and-so in our neighborhood association, so.
Are we taking this opportunity to update whatever records the city has with those contacts?
I keep that list, and I try to keep it as updated as possible. It's possible that some of the people who maybe are the contact on that list, it's not like a very active neighborhood. So sometimes, there's not necessarily a direct point of contact for
Right.
overall, but then there's like, oh, well, maybe this person. But Elizabeth, if you've gotten anyone who's said, we have a new person, please, and I will
Yes.
update it. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
so Miss Sophie Dixon, her email is sophiedixon@msn.com. Make sure that always gets to her too.
And it's just DIXON at MSN?
Yes.
Okay, so I have SOPHIEDIXON@MSN.
And send the one to her.
Okay, I can send that to her.
I don't need one because I'm here.
Because what I had, like Meredith said, I think we had Norma, and then I also had an aatkins.pcm.
Yeah, but she's no longer
Okay.
the liaison.
Should I remove her from the list or keep her on
Yes.
there? Okay.
Remove her, but make sure that Miss Sophie is on there.
Okay.
And I'm the vice president, and I don't need you to, I'm got enough. I've talked to enough people and sent enough emails and had, yes, ma'am.
Could we take a minute and let me catch up? Can you all talk a little bit about, I'm assuming this is the first festival of neighborhoods that you've done?
Since COVID, I think.
Okay.
Is that right?
And when you envision booths from neighborhoods, what kind of booths are you talking about?
That can really be open, is that we said our objectives were to connect people from across the city, different neighborhoods, to get information to folks about what's going on. That's either from the city or from what a neighborhood is doing, if they've got a particular project, like a resilience garden or a community garden, and also
I
to have fun. So with those three objectives in mind,
Okay.
it could be an activity, it could be a plant swap, it could be, we're gonna have bubbles for kids, it could be, here's what we're doing that's really cool, all kinds of ideas that.
Okay.
And that's what the interest form is, for people to say, hey, this is what we think we want to do, so that when we're looking at those as a work group, if there are 10 neighborhoods that all say, we're bringing chips and salsa,
Right.
something like that, we can then suggest, how about, we have a need for this, or we have a need for that.
That's helpful,
Here's
thanks.
a map of the event as it's going to be covered.
Okay.
So, the baseball diamond will be fenced off, there's gonna be food trucks in the parking lot, inflatable child stuff here, and then, tents, all the way around.
Is the city gonna help in any way? Parks and Rec, are they gonna be on hand for that day? Do you know?
We're working on that, but they are definitely going to be out there. They want to set up a booth and do some fun
Yeah.
things. So I'm in conversations with them.
Because my cousin works for Stevens Lee, so I know she'll be there. Angel Rip. Can't help it.
We
Just-
have a question of when is it going to be? Can you remind us the date of the festival?
Yes, September 30th, from 10 to 4 at MLK Park.
And Christina, if I send you that link to the sign up form, maybe you could send it out to everybody as part of kind of the meeting notes, and then everyone on the advisory committee here also has it, so they can pass it along to whomever. Because at this point, I'd rather get as many people filling it out and then cut it down from there than people not aware that they can even sign up easily to indicate their interest in having a booth.
So I would encourage that you encourage the people from the communities not to bring just food. Because it'd be outside the weather, we don't know about storage and safety. So I would encourage you to ask them to, Shiloh has a garden, but we also have mugs and T-shirts and a lot of stuff. So we want them to capture that kind of a thing. And I think that we were saying that if we could get everyone to go to each one of those stations, wherever the tents are for the neighborhoods, and if they can come back and tell us which one, if there's a way you can set it up where they could check off which ones they came to. If they went to every one of them, they might be able to get something free.
Like a scavenger hunt or
There you
whatever.
go.
Passport thing.
So do something, encourage them to do that. That would bring people to want to come. And as long as you had that sheet and tell them, just go, tell us one thing you know about where you stopped. And at the end, they can get something for that. Because I know the communities, West Asheville, Burke Street has a beautiful garden. They got a peace garden and other stuff, and it might be harvest time. Stuff like that we can do. But anything that's prepared, that's just, you might have somebody that can give you water, because it might be hot. So enlist somebody that might be willing, anywhere, Ingles, Public, Sam's, anywhere, that you could get probably, those are just some ideas of things that you can do to engage in people, more people to have, would be ready for that. Parks and Recs has always been a great help, especially they'll do more things with the children. So those are just ideas. My ideas. I don't serve on a committee. I let y'all do what y'all do.
There's
Y'all
lots
do
of great
good.
ideas. I think if anybody contacts us and said, I'm not really sure what do you need, we have lots of ideas that we can throw their way.
Right.
And there are going to be several, I just jotted down a few, Meredith, that you were talking about at the meeting, the boards and commissions, stormwater services, water, fire, emergency management, lots of places where people in neighborhoods can get information about city services, question and answer tent possibly for the city.
Having an ask me table where anybody can actually ask people from the city.
And then have a first aid station. Make sure you have a first aid station, because some people are allergic to bees. And I don't know if they'll be still living at that time, but if they are, those are some ideas.
And we have a liaison, Will Hornaday from the Albemarle neighborhood. I think that's how you say it, Albemarle.
Where is it?
It's off Charlotte Street. He is part of the Coalition of Asheville Neighborhoods, so he's going to be our liaison with CAN about making sure that they're in the know as well.
And make sure that CAM reach out to them for them to have a booth also, because they're vital to the work that we all do. And so make sure that they get that.
I did notice it on their upcoming agenda that they were going to talk about the festival.
Okay. And then I know that there's an Appalachian Health, I'm trying to think of what the actual name is, but they come out and they have a truck a van that they come out, and they do blood pressures and a lot of different things. They did cholesterols, they do come. I'll get that information and I'll send it to you. A BIPA will probably be interested. I don't think you'll have any empty spaces, but if you just open your mind up to who might want to know more about. So you're doing health, we're doing fun for kids. You got the food truck, so they're gonna eat, so they should go home well. And if their blood pressure goes up, it's not our fault. We did take the blood pressure and everything before they left. So that was just to get y'all was looking so serious. I have to look at Kim sometimes, see, she's smiling through her mask, but she's smiling. But I appreciate the work that y'all doing. You have done, as a chair and as a person that does a lot of things, I do a lot of things. So it's good to have someone that's doing some work that doesn't put pressure. I don't worry about it. When I leave here, I don't worry about it. I know that you all gonna have it down and you're gonna have it done. It's gonna be successful. I show up. And we'll be good. Can we get your report on multimodal transportation?
Yes. Where am I? So in June, we had a meeting of the Multimodal Transportation Commission. The main agenda items, I found this interesting, you might too. I know that there are some policies around people attending or not attending meetings, so there was actually someone who had not attended 75% of the meetings of a particular committee, and so that person was removed. And so I, for one, was very curious about that because getting people involved and keeping people involved is really important. And so that was just, that was how we started off the meeting, I believe. They welcomed new members. That we got an update on Asheville Unpaved. Lucy Crown came and talked about the greenways and some of the issues around the natural surface versus the paved greenways, because there are the official greenways and then there's the ones that are going to be, I guess, not paved. Is that how the distinction was?
Natural surface trails being like gravel or the mulch or something, I guess.
So they're supplemental to the Greenways plan that several of us have been familiar with the GAP plan. But they're also for hiking, biking, runners, things like that. There were 3 that were highlighted in particular. The one behind Asheville Middle School and the YWCA in Aston Park. That's a trail that's not officially part of the Greenway, but it is one that was mentioned. The Azalea Park trails, and there's one that's a Duke-owned property near the French Broad River Park, so they have the new part of the official Greenway, and then there's another trail that is a little bit farther up the hill, I guess. I was trying to figure out on the map that they're working on. And there were some concerns about liability on these unpaved trails, these more, I'm calling them informal, if emergency vehicles can't get there, does the city have liability? That was part of their discussion. They also were combining a pedestrian and greenway committees into one. We did have some discussion about the Merriman Avenue Road Diet and when they were hoping to open that up and have it fully finished with the orange barrels off. I asked, I thought it would be interesting if the MMTC might have a booth, or at least somebody from Greenways to talk about at the Festival of Neighborhoods, to let people in neighborhoods know how they could be connected, either by greenways, bike paths, bus lines, things like that, so people in neighborhoods could come to the festival and go to that MMTC table and say, how do I get from here to here if I want to bike, or if I want to walk, or if I want to run a trail?
Great.
So
I like that.
I'm going to be talking to Jack Eigelman, the new chair of MMTC, about that in the next week.
Sounds good.
And we are not having a meeting in July. It was canceled this week.
Anybody have any questions? Let's go to the agenda items for next or upcoming meetings. We do know that in September, that will be a retreat meeting. But does anyone have any ideas for what you might want to have for our August meeting? Is there anybody we would like to come in and talk to us? Did at one time we said we wanted Ken to come back? Because I know they have new officers, I think.
Is that something you want me to look into
Yes,
for Can to come for August?
because that's a big collaboration for us is with Ken.
Okay.
So what we'll do is planning for the annual retreat meeting. Did we get a working group for that?
That was the plan for the June meeting, but we didn't have a quorum.
That's right.
We were going to volunteer all the people that weren't here, but we thought maybe we should
Yeah, we
wait.
don't want to put them under the gun like that. We don't want to put them under the bus like that. So does everyone know what the annual retreat would entail? Does everyone know what we would do? What will we talk about?
No clue. No idea.
Dawn, would you please tell them what we do at a retreat?
I'm happy to, and please do know that the retreat is what you all need it to be. A thing that is helpful to come out of that retreat is what the priorities are going to be for the committee, for the Neighborhood Advisory Committee for the coming year. And you'll have as a roadmap or as a guiding document, council's priorities and their goal statements. That's what we shared earlier. And so there are things that you all are hearing in your communities, in your neighborhoods, that you think could relate to policy, then a discussion around that could be helpful during the annual retreat. And if we're talking September, it is probable that we'll have at least an idea of what the city council committee work plans will look like, because the city council committees will be thinking about areas where they'd really like to tap into the expertise of all of our residents who serve on our boards and commissions, so that again, is just in a more intentional way so that it can be focused and we can actually take some action on things that are aligned with council priority areas. If I were to boil that down to plain language, I would say so that the work that you all do has a place to go where it can be realized.
To give you a clearer picture, I see, I'm gonna let you comment after, you can hold that thought, and we'll go through it. We'll let you be the last one. You got to understand it now. You got a picture. We don't have all the pieces, but you kind of know this is what we're gonna be working on.
Yes, so,
Well, that's all right. We'll learn together, won't we?
well, it's my first meeting, so I'm kind of learning as we go here.
Yeah, but I understand. I was there one time too. I totally understand. So we've already discussed the finalizing the plans. I guess when we come back in August, you'll give us another update so we'll know what we're missing or what we need to concentrate more on. Because you'll be just about coming down to, we'll have another meeting before that.
We hope to have a lot more concrete details about who's going to have tables, what we still need, what kind of volunteer. After the meeting on August 2nd, our hope is that we'll then know, once we have an idea of who's going to be there, what kind of volunteer needs we have in terms of, do we need somebody to be monitoring the bouncy house? Do we need somebody to help if there's going to be, we need musicians, right? We need musicians.
Well, I'll tell you
Yeah,
about,
it was talk between,
if you say mariachi band, I'll cue you.
pardon me?
If you say mariachi band, inside joke. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
there was talk about possibly a DJ or live musicians. I think DJ might be easier since it would be less exhausting for a musician to play 10 to 4 or multiple musicians.
Did you find out what your budget is? Has the city given you a budget? Because when you talk about a DJ, you're gonna have to pay him. It's not gonna be free.
Meredith has been working so hard at all of these things.
So we'll wait. We won't do it tonight. We'll put you out there. But okay, I understand. I think that you have more, once you get these flyers out, and more people will start to say things. Because sometimes it's a lot going on. A lot of people go on vacations, a lot of people just not really, so this will be good. It'll be good. Ms. Kim Roney, who is our liaison from the city council. She listens to everything. Even if you don't see her, she hears our meetings. She knows when I mess up.
I've never seen it happen. Kim Roney, Asheville City Council, very happy to be your liaison. I'm really glad to see some new faces here today. Thank you for your willingness to volunteer as advisors for the city of Asheville and all things neighborhoods. Two things. One, I used to serve on the East-West Asheville Neighborhood Association board. And so one of the things I imagine you could talk about at a retreat is how you can be that sticky glue that holds together between the city and your neighborhoods. That could look like if Like I see the Murphy Oakley Playground and Sidewalk Project is on our city council agenda for Tuesday. As that sidewalk project in the neighborhood is seeing it go in, and they might have questions, is there going to be follow-up? Is there going to be outreach about the new playground that's accessible? Those are the kinds of things that might be helpful to liaison with the neighborhood. But even more importantly, if the city has a list of things like, I don't know, a facilities assessment study that you might want to get ahead of before it happens, so that there's a list of kind of draft ideas of surveys that might be going out, so that you could ask, what kinds of questions should we be asking? Those could be things that you could bring up as sort of communications bucket. So you might have a communications and outreach bucket. You might have like a infrastructure bucket. What are the buildings and the above and below ground infrastructure for stormwater or roads or sidewalks? What do our facilities look like for like community buildings and our school buildings and our library buildings that are in our neighborhoods? Those are kind of like areas that I'm just offering as little seed packets. Plant them where you want, bring them to your retreat if you want. I imagine that those are the things that instead of being reactive to, you might be proactive about by getting into it at the retreat. Could be kind of fun. That said, the thing that I had prepared to bring to you today was that happy fiscal new year. The budget passed unanimously in June, which means that it's time to get the stuff done that we committed to do. And there's a whole bunch of neighborhood stuff on our agenda for tomorrow. These include streetscape design services for Cox Avenue, New Leicester Highway Sidewalk Project, Shiloh Community Sidewalk Project, Murphy Oakley Playground and Sidewalk Project, Vermont Avenue Sidewalk Construction, and much more. So it is possible to find all this information about what's coming up on our consent agenda when you go to ashevillec.gov and click on government. And these are the kinds of things that would be really awesome to share and do outreach. And by doing outreach, it definitely helps your neighbors to know that you are a liaison to the city. So it elevates your role, and it elevates the work of this group. So those are just some ideas to bring to you today. Do you have any questions for me? All right, thank you.
Everybody good? Is everybody? I think that when we meet, the chair and the vice chair, let's make sure that, I think, for August, I have my laptop with me, so we'll be able to do that meeting, but I will be out of town. So just remember, in your mind, just let me know, so I can be on Zoom that day that we get together, and that'll be something we'll talk about for that retreat and what we'll do. Just some ideas that we can have in place from what we've heard tonight. Will that work? Anyone else have anything they want to say? Is everybody wore out?
I do have one quick thing before you end. It made me think of what you were just talking about, Kim, in terms of improving those liaison roles. I wonder if part of at the retreat, we can talk about ways to maybe formalize this too formal a word, but some way in which all the members on NAC can be more intentional and diligent about going out and visiting more neighborhood association meetings. I don't know if that's something we want to sort of discuss, just ideas about how to more intentionally gather information and build that bridge, rather than just sort of people we run into and people we know.
It would be nice to have some structure.
I didn't think about this, but Dawa, you do such an excellent job compiling upcoming community events, and it includes all the neighborhood association meetings. And it has been so helpful to me, because when I get the email from Dawa, I just go through and say, oh, I can go to the Burton Street this week. I can go to play bingo at Shiloh, right? Yeah. And so the reason I know about these things is because Dawa's putting together this list. Is the Neighborhood Advisory Committee getting that list? I mean,
Not yet.
it could. It's so useful, and I just like, you're already doing all this work, and it's like, it's everything from neighborhood association meetings to just community gatherings, and it's such a nice invitation, and it's all in one place, so it's an idea.
Yes, absolutely. And we would love, that would be very helpful on the staff end, on your role, in your role as the communication hubs and ambassadors for your neighborhoods as you start thinking about what you want to cover in that retreat. If we have an idea, then we can make sure that we're bringing all the resources that we have available that could then be shared with you all, and that one is certainly one. I mean, that it would not be a problem at all to just share that out. I want to give big kudos to the team that put together that list. It was a serious undertaking, trying to get all of the different departments in one place to list all of the community engagement opportunities that there are, as well as all the neighborhood association meetings. Having all of those in one place has been helpful. It sounds like helpful to council. It's been helpful to staff to just have a comprehensive idea of where all of those opportunities lie, and that's all in our effort to meet people where they are, and I know we share that effort with you all as volunteers and leaders in your communities.
So like the Grant Center ribbon cutting is on there, so I was like, oh, good reminder that I need to have that on my calendar. And to extend the invitation a little bit further is if you're ever like, I want to go to a different neighborhoods meeting, but I don't want to go by myself, you make sure that you don't send it to everyone at the same time, so you're not having like a virtual meeting in an email, but don't hesitate to reach out, because if I can come, I'm happy to go with you. And thank you for compiling the list.
So I've always encouraged everyone to go to your neighborhood association meetings. And if your neighborhood does not have an association, go to the next one close to it. Or if you live in a subdivision where you might have a homeowners association, you can start to bond that too also for that information, because you may have concerns about in that neighborhood. So it's not just limited to just one particular thing. I try to, if I can't make the meetings, I try to at least connect with some of the officers in those communities. Because I can't make them all, and it's just busy for me. But if you can, that's the first thing of communication. Once you get with that neighborhood and you start talking to them, and you start asking them questions, and they will tell you certain things. Because didn't I put you on the spot, Mary? Didn't I put you on the spot?
When was that?
At the association meeting?
Maybe.
Yeah, I did. I said, Meredith is here, she'll tell about the neighborhood. And she said, well.
Oh, the Festival of Neighborhoods, yes,
And
yes.
so that's how you do. So she comes out, but, be encouraged to go to these different, go to the places that people wouldn't normally go to. Like, I know Kenilworth has an organization and they're building, so it would probably be interesting to know when their meeting is. I know Oakley has them, so just reach out. East Asheville, I don't know, do you all have a neighborhood association? Do they have one in East Asheville? Do they have an official?
Haw Creek,
Haw Creek?
they meet
Okay, so.
semi-regularly.
Yeah, so just, in that, whenever you have a chance, find out when they are, and just kind of ease on through. They won't ask you anything, you just come just to enjoy the moment. You're always invited to Charlotte, all of them. If there's nothing else, we will.
Oh, you want me to do
Yes,
something?
ma'am, in the meeting. You're the
Do I
vice
have to
chair.
have a motion for that?
No, we're getting ready to go.
Okay, meeting
Adjournment.
is adjourned.
There you go.